Well, welcome. It's April 26, 2026, and we're going to continue, and we're going to start with the parable of the wedding feast. Remember, Matthew 20 starts end of Matthew 20 is the vineyard workers, and Jesus enters with the triumphal entry and the donkey voices. Turns the tables, connects the fig tree curse with moving this mountain. Then we get into the authoritative lack of restraint. The two children, the one says, "I am Lord," the harlot. And next he gives an example of someone going into the vineyard and making their own creating all their own rules in their own little sub-vineyard. And he had the rock evidence, the rejected cornerstone, and the wheat and chaff to stone-grown powder. Now, it continues directly into the next chapter with the wedding feast, where we're going to start. Last week I did King Jehu and the Feast of the False Prophets. Feast meaning he got rid of all the supporters of Baal. And then he's there, how do I get rid of all the false prophets? So he made a big feast, a big ceremony, and only the important people, if you're for Baal, you come. If you're not, we don't want anyone from the Lord here. And he attracts them all in, and then he slaughters them all. It's a little trick. And a number, I found, and I'm going to make a table for next week, there are 3 or 4 words which appear in the Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament, but only appear like one time in the New Testament, and they're all in this parable of the wedding feast, this same area. It's like, remember he said a few verses before, have you not read? Have you not read all these words? Now, of course, I didn't read them all. I wrote software, and I could check and look for specific words is how I find them. But I didn't realize all those connections were there until after I had made the other connections. So we're going to start the wedding feast. Again, the importance of the wedding feast is because the standard interpretation is not what it actually appears to be saying. And there's all this theology that's built up on that type of thing. Jesus answered and spoke to them again in parables. Again means he was speaking to them before and now. What did he say before? We had the householder, right? And other parables in the cornerstone. Well, we're just continuing. He's answering. Let me read through the story just to review it. This is the King James. The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were called to the wedding, and they would not come. Bidden means called, but in English class, you're not supposed to use the same word again, so they came up with another word. Again, he sent forth servants, saying, tell them that which were called, bidden, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. A number of play on words are there. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. Aren't they interested in this great wedding? If you're great, you should be there. And so we'll finish up. So that's the part we're going to look at today. And we go back to the bird calls, a parable. He's talking again. He will miserably destroy those wicked men. Kakus, kakus. It's like a bird call. I realized that. And I went through, looked, every place Jesus uses that kakos or kakus. I can put the birds in there, or those who've been birded. Yeah. We would use cuckoo, but anything close is good. And he will let out his vineyard unto other similar husband, which will render him the fruits of their season. He's going to destroy the bad managers and replace them with other bad managers. And a few verses later, he's going to say it's open to the people, the kingdom of God. It's up to you to do what? You can't just be following the bad leaders. So we have that. Now, I'll use the different AIs, Google AI, and remember the artificial intelligence is just summarizing what it finds on the internet. And within what it finds, it can make certain inferences thinking inside the box. It's not going to think outside, so it's just returning what it thinks it is. The parable of the wedding banquet symbolizes God's gracious invitation into the kingdom of heaven, the feast for his son, Jesus. Really, it looks like a trick, which was largely rejected by Israel, the first guest, but then extended to all people, the outcast. Remember, it was just extended to everyone, but not through these managers. And the whole point is you blame everything on Israel and the Jews. I heard part of the sermon, and all that came before me were robbers and thieves, right in John? Well, yeah, but those are going to keep coming. You can't just separate, oh, that was all the Jewish institution, it's nothing that followed after. They can do exactly the same thing. Its core meaning highlights God's persistent call to salvation. Really? He's calling in, it's a trap. The rejection of that call by many. They rejected it. Why did they reject it? Well, they were actually doing what they were supposed to be doing. They didn't show up for the trick. The inclusivity of the gospel for everyone and the necessity of a genuine prepared heart, the wedding garment, to truly enter and participate in God's kingdom, warning against superficial faith and self-righteousness. Now, you've heard a lot of these ideas, right? And you can get these ideas from other places in Scripture. So it's not that the ideas, what it's saying is wrong, it's just doesn't appear that's what this parable is about. So the fact that it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that what it says here is false. It just means you need to go to other verses where he does say that. And that's hard for some people to understand. So we're looking at it for what it says, realizing, yes, he is calling everyone to salvation. And you don't want to reject that. And it's for everyone who accepts it. And you need a prepared heart. But all that you can get from elsewhere. You don't have to get it from here. And that's what we're looking at. Kingdom is like unto a certain, it's a man. They put certain in there for a man. Man that's a king, which made a marriage for his son. And I told you last week, the wedding feast, I'm just whetting your appetite. It's the feast I could do. Yeah, we get that again. But he starts out, O miothi. Oh, and he uses this elsewhere. O mioso, I liken. O Moisi, the Moses. He's connecting this to Moses in some manner. Now, he made a marriage, a wedding, in verse 2. He made a wedding and sent us forth that were bidden to the wedding, in verse 3. When we get to verse 8, the wedding is ready. That's a singular. The other two are plural. There's a lot of argument over what does it mean between singular and plural. And so we're not going to get sidetracked, but there is the question there. What does he mean by the plurals and the singular wedding? What they'll do is they'll use it. Oh, it doesn't matter. They use both in different circumstances. So gamos is plural. Gamus and gamos is singular. I don't know what that means. Other people argue about it. I'm just pointing that out. Made a marriage. Now, one way to look at it, as explained by Jesus, there's a one-to-one mapping. The one church as a unity is the one bride of Jesus, the groom, all or nothing. What about individuals in the church who are not doing what they are supposed to do? Here, the singular wedding might be appropriate. You hear that, better together, right? Whenever you hear the better together, you should think bitter together. We're all going to be bitter together. That is, you don't pull everyone in on the coattails who's just there. They're going to look at you. Many to one, every member of the church is a bride of Jesus the groom. Each individual is a separate case to be considered. Here, the plural weddings is appropriate. Because it's the weddings, because everyone is going to be evaluated on themselves and not on what the group does. So the group can't pull you in, but if you go with the group, it may pull you down. That's the problem. He made a marriage for his son, and I like to look at these spoonerisms, butterfly, flutter by, because they appear a lot. So a spoonerism for gamus is magus, gamus. You just switch the consonants. Magus means magical, as in sorcery. Is there any sorcery going on here? And the alternative meaning is something that follows along with the main meaning. You got the main meaning, and then there's like another story in the second part. The second story, oh, this is a wedding. The underlying thing is we're going to deal with some sorcery or magic here, trying to get the false prophets to self-identify. And sent his servants to call them that were called, kalesi, keklimenus, to the wedding, and they would not come. Now, that kalon, rakon, he uses that every place I've look at it, it fits. Kalesi Rakesi, because the L and R's were very similar in ancient Greek. We'll see that. Remember, if you call someone Raka, you're in danger, liable to the council. We analyzed that. If you have the council, the whole group, the religious establishment, and you do not do what they want, you've effectively called them Raka. And if you call them Raka when they want you to do something other than what Jesus wants, you're Kala, you're good. So you're Kala by being Raka, Kala Raka. The second one, Keklimenos. The L and R's are similar. Keklimenos, Keklimenos. One means called, the other means hidden. He sent to call them, the Raka, they're going to be hidden. In other words, they're not going to show up because they know it's a trick. So they're hidden. Now, where do we see that word, Kekrimenu? In Revelation, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Remember that hear what is like count Satan what? To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna. What is the hidden manna? Manna means like bread. Originally meant what is it in Hebrew, because I didn't know what this stuff was. What is the hidden manna? And if you look through, do an internet search, no one really knows. When I say no one really knows, they just make up opinions and make up stuff. They make up stuff here, make up stuff there. I'm just looking where the words are used. What is this hidden manna? And that word only appears 2 other places in the 2 kingdom parables in Matthew. And it has that play on words in this marriage feast. So I didn't put a slide in, but remember the woman who hides the false doctrine, the leaven, until it's mixed the whole way through? Changing the words, changing the definitions of what you believe. She's mixing in. What is she hiding? The hidden manna. Remember we said that going to the treasure hid in the field, the living bread is what? You give us our infinite bread today. We don't need to keep coming back every day. We can go do what Jesus wants. Well, that got hidden. That hidden manna was hidden because now it's hidden. The words were changed, and you think, oh, we need to come in each week for our spiritual food. Well, that's good, but you don't need to keep waiting to do something for Jesus. You can just go out and do it now. Don't have to wait. The next one is the treasure hidden in a field. Kekrimenu, same word. The true living bread. Remember, the man, Jesus as God, found the treasure hidden in a field and he hid it again? That hidden, what's hidden there? The righteous one, the bread? What? And so we have those allusions in those verses. So he sent his servants to call, for those who are Raka, don't go with what the council wants, that were bidden, hidden, to the wedding. And they would not come. Why won't they come? They apparently know it's a trap. They're just going to do what Jesus wants. They're not going to come in to be great and have all this notoriety and sit in the best place at the feast. So did they reject God's calling? Were they busy with their own concerns? They were busy with the concerns of their Lord. That would appear to be so. Were they busy planting trees? What type of trees? They sensed a trap. Martin Luther, when asked, it's attributed to him, he said, if I knew the world was to end tomorrow, I would still plant an apple tree today. In other words, you look to the future, even if you think he's coming, you don't sell everything and go on a hill and wait, which is what has happened throughout history. Yeah, again, he sent other servants, other similar servants, and so he's going to do that again. Tell them that we're called. Behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fatlings are killed. All things are ready. Come into the marriage. Those other similar servants. Now the dinner, he prepared his dinner. Oh, in fact, I think I have that. Keklimenos. Those who've been hidden called it. That dinner is actually ariston, means morning meal, breakfast, later lunch. And through history, the dinner and lunch got changed in English in the past 100 years, but we'll worry about that another time. His dinner. Everything is prepared. I look for play on words. Idimaki, idimaki. That I, that little O is kind of slid. One means it's prepared. Prepared the. The other is either or battles maki. Makara is sword, where et means either or. Apparently he's getting ready for some battle We're going to have something happening here. The dinner, Ariston for the best. He sent other servants, my oxen, Tavri, Savri, T and S are very close, ta, 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 ta. So Tavri, Savri. Oh, he's prepared the oxen, he's prepared the servants. I'm just saying these are playing words and we see if they fit. He's preparing those. Yeah. Did I get the, oh, yeah. Sisistos. And when a word's only used once in the whole Bible, I wonder, what is this? And it appears that sisisa is related to sisanian, the weeds in parable 2, and also to jaja and perhaps the dendron. It has the same rhythmic symbol and repetition. How did I decide those code words might mean that? Well, I figured out so many. The ones that are left, I don't know what these are, and they all match that pattern. So I thought, well, maybe that fits. The technical version was they were fatlings. The other were oxen. You note, bulls, like oxen, can graze on the fruit of the grass and on weeds. They can eat both the weeds and the grass. Those weeds might include the fatlings. And the fatlings are grain feed as they're eating the fruit of the grass. So it has a difference between how the two different animals will eat, and that's a literal meaning. What path might these bulls or fatlings have been following? Might it be the narrow or scattered way that leads away from the life? Now the killed, and we have two words here, theo, but then the inflection gets changed a lot. Comes from flevo, squeeze, compress, oppress, tetrimenos, rubbed or worn out. I'm just going to go to the verse. This goes back to the Sermon on the Mount, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few be there that find it. Remember that leaven that gets mixed in? And so you're told, oh, the way is narrow. You're going to have to be a leader and influence people and do all this hard stuff to get in. I have a whole lesson on the one word there, apagusa. It means go away from. It doesn't mean go into. So the main definition is go away from. In the Cambridge Greek Lexicon, the next 12 are go away from. Only in the last two is it go into, and that's in these two verses. And I have another thing. This word appears, apago, and inflections, 15 times in the Greek New Testament. And I go through and 13 of those, yeah, it means go away from. Only in this one does it mean go into. So you're supposed to go away. That taking this narrow, scattered, rubbed out, worn path will go away from into the life. You see how that changes the whole thing? The whole thing about you don't want to be in the wide area with everyone. You want to be on the narrow way. Well, it says the exact opposite. You don't want to go away from going into the wide, and you don't want to go into this narrow way. You want to go away from it. And so that whole change, I'll go over that another time, is very important in the history because it changes all sorts of theology in the past few hundred years and before. Now, just think about this for a second. How would you get trapped into going the wrong way? Because don't you believe, if you believe in God, right? Remember that verse we heard this morning? It says, Jesus says, sheep hear my voice. And it says, and if they don't recognize the voice, well, if you're not with Jesus, if you've separated yourself, you'll go with the other person. It's not like you're going to automatically recognize that. I found that fascinating. How would you trick someone into going the wrong way? You'd have to be like a wolf, right? Because at the end he said, Keoliki isin. And the wolves, I burn wolves. Keoliki, I burn wolves. And so who find that way you're not supposed to go. Could you trick someone by being a wolf and putting on sheep's clothing and coming in and tricking them into going the wrong way? Well, that's how you would get them to go the wrong way. So where is that verse about wolves in sheep's clothing coming in and ravaging the flock? The next verse. And you're going to say, well, I'll know if it's a wolf, right? I'll hear the voice. I'll know by their fruit. Next verse. You'll know them by their fruit. Very next, that's two verses. And they talk about men, do they get grapes from figs and figs from thistles? Yeah, are these wolves, are they going to go into a church that's all run down with no support, everyone arguing? Or are they going to put on sheep's clothing and go into where they have lots of figs and grapes and mislead those people with all the resources? Yeah, so the whole thing fits together. It comes in here. Yeah, straight, flevo, tetrimeni. Tethlimeni, tethimeni. You see the connection there? It's scattered and worn out. And what is that? Let me look up. Yeah, sacrificed. It's sacrificed. It's scattered. We're going along the wrong way. And when I look at the word usage, this is always interesting. Tethlimeni, scattered. Tethimeni, sacrificed. They're very similar. They each appear only one time. And when I see these, they only appear one time. They're very similar. I wonder if there's a connection here. But some of them made light of it. They paid no attention. One to his farm, his own field is what it says, a special field. Another to his merchandise that paid no attention. Why would they? They're ignoring God's call. Amelisantis, Amelisatnus. Satnus, you have that little A in there. They were not members of Satan. And that's why they didn't go. It wasn't because they rejected the call. They knew it was a trap. And they didn't necessarily know it's a trap. They just went to do what Jesus said to do. Yep. One to his farm is agros, farm, land, countryside. And agros is related to acker in German and acre in Old English. Remember, you have so many acres on your field, so it's related to the agros, agriculture, acre, acker. All those words are related. One to his own distinguishing farm. This doesn't mean it's their own personal farm. It could be a special farm, that farm where the living bread is, and they're hidden there in a treasure in the field. Yeah. Most farmers like to be outstanding in their own field, right? Yep. Even when it's raining, yep. The others made light, they went to their merchandise. Oh, merchandise, emporion. We get the word emporion from that. This is like the pearl of great price. Emporus, the play on words is there. Emborius, Emporus. The MP is like a B, which is north. North in the Bible always has a bad, evil connotation. Of the tribe of Dan, the serpent and the eagle, the north. Aurora Borealis, if you've ever seen that, the Boreas comes from Greek and Latin, which means the north. Isaiah talking about Satan, for there thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also in the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north, the Boran. North is always used in a bad sense, both in the Old Testament and when Jesus uses play on words and so forth. That's why if you say, oh, we're going true north, you see, why are we going true north? That's not a good symbol there. In 2 Peter, and through covetousness they shall make with feigned or plastic words, make merchandise, emporevs unto you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. Notice we talk about plastic cards. That word plastis is where we get plastic from in Greek. It means pliable and so forth, formed, and the traveler is the emporus. We also see that emporus in the merchant man. Again, this is right after the treasure in the field verse, where things were hid, and a merchant man's going to hide things. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking goodly pearls, who he found one pearl of good price, went out and sold that he had and bought it. Oh, he's buying this pearl as a business transaction. Remember I said kalos is like rakus? Those who say raka to the council don't do what they want, just instead do what Jesus wants. They go to their own field instead of coming in for all the glory at the feast. Is that merchant man trying to buy someone? Someone says, oh, I'm not going to go with the church. Oh, we're going to pay all this money. Oh, okay, I'll go with you. They're trying to buy that one pearl. Can you be bought? So we have that interesting name. The word Margaret comes from the word for pearl, margaritas. Who's being bought? Yeah. So, we're going to continue next week. Things don't look good for the marriage feast. It looks like a trap. And those who realize are out doing what Jesus wants aren't going to show up. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth and sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Number of play on words in there. Then he said to the servants, the wedding is ready. We got all the easy ones. Now we're going to get the ones with the tricks. The wedding is ready, but they were bidden are not worthy. We don't want those of, like Jehu says, who are for God. We want all the other ones. It's a trap. Go therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid them into the marriage, singular. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both good and bad, and the wedding was furnished with guests. Notice they're supposed to do two things: go to the exit ramps and just call people, and if they feel it, they'll go do what they want. What did they do? They went into the paths. They're not supposed to be in there, and they brought them all in to fill the pews. Didn't say to do that, so the only ones doing something wrong in this parable are the servants who went out to call and bring everyone in. King went into the guests. He saw there was a man which had not a wedding garment. He said to them, now friend, that condescending, now friend, comrade, right? And Jesus uses that in both a play on words and 3 times. So you want to be careful when you say to someone, now friend, if you're imitating Jesus. That's not good. How comest thou hither, not in this way, not having a wedding garment? He was speechless. He was leavened. And said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot and take him away and cast him into outer darkness. There'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen, elected. There's only one few here. The one guy who gets thrown out, he's doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do, going to, as a bird, filling up the pews and getting everyone in. Once we realize that, there are all these implications for, did Paul write this? Did Paul not write this? And it changes a lot of the theology for the past almost 200 years. So that's where we're headed. This has been the parable of the wedding feast.